Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Felipe, who is the owner of El Patio in Wynwood. Now, Felipe, the first thing I wanted to ask you was obviously this pandemic has affected so many people from all different walks of life, but specifically those who own businesses like bars and restaurants, they've been affected probably the hardest out of anyone. And I wanted to ask you, how tough has this whole pandemic been for you and your employees?
Very tough. To be honest with you, if you told me a year ago that we'll have to go through something like this, I would have told you crazy. Um, First we thought that this will last, couple month, maybe 3 month. After we had, we made bigger plans as far as where we're gonna be opening again, and there was a plan where we thought we'll open towards the beginning of next year. I mean, it's been very tough on our staff. I mean, the staff is really the priority because they're the one, that lost everything from the Friday to the following Monday. Um, and we've been, since the start of this, we've been fighting for them ever since. We continue to pay them. Once we received the first PPP loan, it gave us a little bit of a breather, but obviously this exhausted itself after 8 weeks. After that, we continued, paying them, and after we were not able to do it anymore. So some of the staff were able to find temporary jobs, others not, and it's heartbreaking because there's no way I'm gonna let my staff in a situation like this. So whatever we have to do, we'll do it. I think what is really sad, is yes, we got PPP loans, and to be honest, we're grateful for that. But it's sad that we were not able to reapply afterwards. There's a lot of money that was not allocated actually that some people didn't request. So it would have been great if businesses that in our industry that got the loan were able to reapply again. At least we would have been able to breathe an additional 2 or 3 months because after the PPP loan passed for 24 weeks, we were not able to do that. So we've been basically since mid-May, we've been on our own, and nobody's helping you. And the only thing that you hear is, listen, you have to stay closed because it is what it is, and we don't know when you're going to reopen. Okay, but is there, you guys are telling me that I have to stay close, so why you guys are not helping us, to to stay close? We're fine, we're staying close, but at least help our staff. That's all we're asking.
Mm.
Um, we have to keep in mind that the landlord still charge you rent. You still have to pay utilities. You still have to pay your taxes, that were due in July. Uh, you know, I'm very grateful that I'm a debt-free person. I hate debt. Everything is paid. But the only thing I see today is that at the end, the big winner in this can be government because they ended up having rents, they're having loans to everyone. And as far as I know, in 12 months, those loans are going to be due, the SBA loan, with a 3.75% interest. So at the end of the day, now we have debt, that we don't want because we had no choice. And in 12 months, you're gonna have to pay this interest rate. And to be honest with you, I'm in a good situation. I'm a very careful person, the way I plan my things, the way I do my businesses. But I know some people, they had to do a lot of deferments, and trust me, the deferments are towards the end of the year. I don't even know how they're going to do towards the end of the year because they have so many payments deferred that it's just an explosion of payments that's going to come due, in December or January. How they're going to do, I have no idea. That's not fair. That's really not normal.
It sounds again, it's a dire situation for everyone involved, but specifically for those in this industry, I feel it's going to have very similar to how you said a long-term effect that goes maybe even beyond this pandemic. Now, that leads to my other question for you. Do you believe to some level that maybe industries like yours, bars and restaurants, have been treated unfairly during this whole reopening process?
I don't know about the word unfairly. Forgotten, absolutely, because I mean, let's be very honest. We know we're facing a pandemic. We never faced that. Okay, uh, besides the Spanish flu in I forgot. I think it was 1908. I forgot the exact date. Uh, but I think there was better ways to handle the pandemic. But obviously, that's not my place to say what we should have done better. But the bars, a lot of things has been said on bars. We've been closed since March 15th. Let's be very honest. We never reopened since March 15th. So a lot of things has been attributed to bars, that when the case increased and everything, that was the bar's fault. No, because we were closed. We never opened. Uh, Yes, restaurant at the beginning, were opened and basically went a little crazy and started to, transform into bars after, and everything got out of hand. Okay, well, people were eager to get back to work, and really wanted to start putting money again in the cashier. But yeah, people were not disciplined, and you ended up having this increase as a case. That was very unfortunate, and that set us back. At this point, we were ready to all open. Even the feedback that we had from official was that we might open in June, beginning of July. So we were all gearing up and getting ready, and there's this happened, and it set us back, X amount of month. And at the end of the day, so there was a discipline problem that I think today has been addressed. I think today people are way more disciplined, understand better what's this pandemic, or willing to put masks, because here we need to put masks. We need to do social distancing. We really need to do all the correct things to make sure that we try to get rid of this pandemic once and for all. It's not gonna be quick. Let's face it. It's not gonna be quick. It's not gonna be a 6 month thing. I don't even think the vaccine is gonna give you a viable solution. It's gonna give you a little push, a help. It's not gonna be a viable solution. A lot of people are not gonna be willing to do the vaccine. It's proven that there's a lot of strain of this virus, so it's gonna be kind of like the flu. So you're not gonna be able to address all the different variation of this virus. So vaccine is just gonna give you so much. So we're gonna have to deal with it. We're gonna have to uh, reinvent the way we work, reinvent the way we greet people, reinvent the way we serve people, the way the party is going to be. It's a fact that's going to last. Who knows? 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. I have no idea at this point. But we have to deal with it. It's a reality.
And you're right that it is going to be a very different world that will, I think, in many ways involve kind of a collaboration between owners like yourselves and also government officials. Have you had any communication with Mayor Jimenez?
No, nothing. We tried, nothing. And I think that's the biggest frustration that we had, before we did the protest. And one of the reasons we did the protest, you know, to start with, bar owners are always categorized as, I don't know, like I said yesterday during the protest, like drug addicts, pimps, or crooks. I don't know, whatever reputation we have, but we're not. We're to be honest with you, we're normal people, business owners, care a lot about our staff, care a lot about our communities. We've been helping the communities nonstop during those times, even with the little money that we had. It's just that we have this misconception about bar owners. But at the end of the day, we we really want to work with our officials. We want a dialogue. We want a plan. We set forth plan and never got answers back. And this lack of dialogue, this lack of respect, where we don't want to talk with you guys, we don't need to talk right away with you guys. I think it's a mistake. We're not here to judge our officials. They do what they need to do. They had a pandemic on their hands. It's difficult to manage that. I get it, but we're a huge industry that represents millions of jobs, represents millions of dollars in taxes for the city. I think we can have the respect that we can be included in talks, we can be included in dialogue like the other industries. And even if it was not too open now, at least, let's talk and let's give us a plan. You can, leave us in the dark forever and tell us to wait, tell us to stay close and just to stay put and don't have any news, nothing. And we have to, and our staff that tells us every day what we're going to do and how things are going to happen, tell them every time, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. It's too stressful. It can't be like this. So no, nobody reached us. We try to reach, officials, but it wasn't successful. And until the protest, once we did the protest, we started to have a little more, at least a little more traction. The media were great by relaying the message that we had to say. And well, today we saw that Mayor Jimenez is willing to open, certain kinds of bars. Now we're waiting to see which ones and when. So.
Well, then hopefully this is just kind of like maybe the beginning of that process where communication is finally happening for you and obviously many other business owners. Now, a big thing about reopening, especially when it comes to locations like bars and restaurants that congregate so many people, is safety. And I wanted to ask you directly, what measures do you plan on implementing if El Patio is allowed to reopen? Will there be hand washing stations, mask implementation, maybe temperature checks as well?
So we have a full guidelines that was submitted to the Miami-Dade County at that time when we thought we were going to reopen in June or beginning of July. So what we came up with at El Patio, and I can speak with a lot of members as well of the association of the Wynwood Restaurant and Bar Association, is that for example, El Patio, we spent $20,000 updating the entire place. We closed off every single benches that we had to make sure that only a group of 4 to 6 people will sit there completely enclosed, because that was the guidelines at that time. I don't know if they're going to update it or not, but it was 4 to 6 people that can sit at the same table. We're breaking up all the groups to make sure there's smaller groups. We put it plexiglass on all the bars to make sure there's this, there's division between the staff and the clients. We have sanitation stations everywhere. We have masks for people to provide to people even if they don't have it, because masks will be mandatory in our place. We'll have people on the floor, what we call safety people, to make sure that people retain their mask if they don't have to put the having their drink, to make sure that all the social distancing is respected. We have the stickers on the floor to make sure that you're 6 feet apart when you're doing a line. We have an entire plan for the staff that we have to, obviously we'll take temperatures to the clients, that's a given. For the staff, same thing. Every day the staff needs to tell us the interaction that they had, to make sure they take the temperature every day before coming to work. If there's anything suspicious, they need to tell us. And if they end up having a temperature or a cough, they will not be able to come at work for 5 days, where now basically the guideline is coming to a 5 days kind of quarantine. And if everything is good again, they will be able to resume work. So we have a full plan in place. Like I always say, zero risk doesn't exist. I'm not here to sell, oh no, people will be 100% safe. No, because that will be dishonest from me. There's always a risk. I've always been advocating. I mean, I'm from France. In France, we have access to those rapid tests, those little tests that pick your finger. They've been pretty reliable. I actually have some of those tests, and I've been advocating why we cannot try to have access to those kinds of tests. And I'll be willing to buy a lot of it and be able to test every single client that comes in my venue. We don't have this possibility for the moment. And I think that the best way to address this pandemic will be able to, for us, to have those rapid tests and to be able to test every single people before they come in your venue. But those tests that gives you results in 5 minutes. So that would be the best thing for us.
And
In the meantime, we have to cope with what we have. And the solution I just told you is the solutions that we have for the moment.
okay, and the rapid test, you're not saying that the rapid test you're going to offer that to clients. You're saying that you would wish that to be the case, correct? Be
I
the case.
would love to. I mean, I have a limited number for me in my household. I have like 10 of those tests. I mean, it will be great if, one day, we can have access to those tests, and I'll be willing to buy 10,000 of those tests if I have to, because I know that I'll be able to test people, and everybody that will come in my venue will be, supposedly negative. Obviously, there's always false negatives or things like this, but at least, it gives you a better peace of mind. But we'll be extremely careful for the sake of our staff and for the sake of our clients. Absolutely. And like I said, we never said we want to pack a place. We always said since day one, let us reopen like restaurants. Let us serve people at their tables. We don't want people to dance and be packed and run everywhere. No, we just want to be able to function like a restaurant. Just instead of serving you food, we'll serve you drinks. That's all we want to do for the moment. Later on, we'll see how it works, to make sure that cases stay low. And later on, we can talk about the curfew. We can talk about more capacity. That's all we're asking.
Absolutely. And last question that I wanted to ask you has to do more with the patrons that come to El Patio. El Patio is obviously known for being very high energy, very lively. And if El Patio were allowed to reopen, what are patrons to expect when they re-enter El Patio?
Well, obviously, like we talked before, the party is going to be different for the moment. It's not going to be the same party that used to be. It's more going to be a lounge type of ambience. Obviously, people are going to have to stay at the table. We'll serve them at the tables. Um, Capacity bill will be greatly reduced. Because of the guidelines that we have. Um, we'll still have our DJs, we'll still play the same music we used to play. So the vibe will be here. It's just the execution of the party will be different. Will have to be different for all the bars for the moment, until we'll be able to get greater capacity and to close later, at later times. Um, we're still gonna have our happy hour that we used to have before. It's just that you'll have to sit at the table. You can have you're still gonna have a great time with your friends and be able to talk with your friends. But the point here is to create groups, small groups of people, and not one huge big group, the big amount of people in front of a place, in the middle of a place, where after it becomes very complicated to assure the safety of everybody. Here we'll have to make sure that the small amount of people that we'll be able to let in, there will be in those booths that we created, and we'll be interacting with each other, but just the groups that are inside those booths.
Absolutely. Well, again, thank you so much for your time. I know you're very busy. You're at the protest. You're having meetings. So I know you're a very busy man.
No, man, so thank you so much.
No, thank you. And honestly, hopefully you and that you're able to open up again, and not just for you, but for your employees as well. And hopefully you continue to stay safe during this whole pandemic.